All right, let's just get right into it. We're not going to talk about hype or what the ads say. We're talking about what actually happens inside a teenager's brain when it comes into contact with nicotine. Let's break down the real science behind vaping and smoking and why it's such a big deal right now.
So, I want you to picture one single moment. You take one puff. What happens in the next 10 seconds? Seriously, the answer to that one question, well, it's the key to understanding this entire story. But before we get into all the brain chemistry, we've got to understand the game plan here. We're going to look at the products themselves and, more importantly, who they're really made for.
I mean, just look at the lineup. You've got the old school stuff like cigarettes, but then you have all these colorful disposable vapes. They're designed to look and feel totally different. But don't get it twisted. They are all just different packages for the exact same addictive drug, nicotine.
And this is the number that really matters. In the United States, you legally have to be 21 to buy any of this stuff. Not 18, definitely not 15. So if these are only for adults, why do they seem to be literally everywhere teens are?
Well, here's your answer. Cotton candy, mango, blue raspberry. I mean, let's be real. These flavors aren't being designed for a 45-year-old who's been smoking for decades. They have one mission: to taste good to someone who's never smoked before. It's a business model, plain and simple, because if you can hook a young brain on nicotine, you might just have a customer for life.
Okay, so let's get back to that 10-second countdown. This is where we're going to see exactly how nicotine stops being a choice and starts acting like a hijacker, launching this lightning-fast takeover of your brain's command center.
This timeline just shows how insanely fast it all happens. The second you inhale, nicotine zips through your lungs, hitches a ride in your bloodstream, and makes a beeline straight for your brain. The whole hostile takeover? Just 10 seconds. That's one of the fastest drug delivery systems on the planet.
So what happens the moment it arrives? Nicotine basically picks the lock on your brain's reward system and forces it to release a flood of dopamine. Now, this is your brain's natural feel-good chemical. It's what gives you that sense of pleasure when you eat something amazing or just laugh your head off with friends. Nicotine hijacks that feeling, giving you this big artificial rush of pleasure.
But, and this is a big but, that rush wears off, and it wears off fast. Your brain, which now thinks it needs that artificial spike, starts to panic. It starts craving more, and that craving kicks off withdrawal. You feel anxious, irritable, and that feeling pushes you to use again, just to feel normal. And that's it. You're caught in the loop. So now we get how the addiction cycle works. But for a teenager, this whole thing gets way, way more serious. We need to talk about what nicotine does to a brain that is literally still growing and changing every single day.
This might be the single most important slide in this whole explainer. Your brain does not finish developing until you're about 25 years old. Think about it like a building that's still under construction. Using nicotine during this time is like letting some random person mess with the blueprints while the concrete is still wet.
And we're not talking about small cosmetic changes here. Nicotine literally changes how the parts of your brain in charge of memory, learning, paying attention, and making good decisions are built. And the damage done during this construction phase, it can be permanent.
Now let's talk about the dose. We all know a pack of cigarettes has a lot of nicotine. But some of these popular disposable vapes, they can have as much nicotine as, get ready for this, 500 cigarettes. 500. Just let that number sink in for a second.
This brings us to that really common myth. The one that says vaping is just harmless water vapor, or it's a safe alternative to cigarettes. So let's put them head to head and look at what they actually do.
Yep, that cloud you're breathing in, it's not water vapor. It's an aerosol, and it's loaded with all kinds of nasty stuff. We're talking heavy metals like lead and nickel, chemicals that are known to cause cancer, and flavorings that have been linked to a permanent, serious lung disease they call popcorn lung. It got its name from factory workers who got sick from breathing in artificial butter flavorings all day.
So when you line them up next to each other, you see two very different kinds of danger. Smoking is famous for its long-term risks, like cancer and heart disease. Vaping, on the other hand, is linked to more immediate problems, like severe lung inflammation. It's so bad it even has its own name, EVALI. And for athletes, a huge drop in performance. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? Just because the dangers are different doesn't make one of them safe. It's kind of like asking if it's safer to get hit by a car or a truck. You really just want to avoid getting hit by either one. Okay, so let's zoom back out. We've talked about the science, we've seen how nicotine targets the teen brain.
Now, let's connect all of that to your body, your choices, and your future.
The damage really doesn't stop at your brain. Nicotine puts your whole body under stress. It jacks up your heart rate and blood pressure, making your heart work overtime 24/7. It damages the tissue in your lungs, making it harder to breathe when you're playing a sport or even just running up the stairs. It even weakens your immune system, which means you get sick more easily and it takes you longer to get better.
You can kind of think of it like this. Starting a nicotine habit as a teen is like tipping over the first domino in a very long line. The science connects it to struggling in school, to developing anxiety and other mood disorders, and it makes it much more likely that you'll get addicted to other things down the line.
So at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. Your brain is actively building the person you're going to be for the rest of your life. And the real question is, who do you want in charge of those spinal blueprints? You, or a chemical that's designed to get you hooked?